Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Today, we're going to be cracking open The Devil's Notebook by Anton Szandor LaVey.
He's the founder of the Church of Satan.
And now, before you jump to any conclusions, let me assure you, this isn't about, summoning demons or sacrificing goats.
It's about challenging conventional thinking and getting a glimpse into LaVey's unique and often surprising perspective on life, society, and what it means to be human.
So grab your thinking caps and let's get ready to dive in with our expert.
It's a pleasure to be here. You know what always strikes me about LaVey's work is his ability to cut through the noise and make us question everything.
He really does hold a mirror up to society, doesn't he?
Absolutely. And one of the most relevant sections, especially in our information-saturated age, is what he calls a medicine for melancholy.
Okay, let's unpack this medicine for melancholy because let's face it, who couldn't use a little dose of that these days, right?
Yeah, right. LaVey argues that we're constantly bombarded with negativity and fear from the news to social media, and this creates a kind of societal demoralization.
He even suggests that some of us might be drawn to this negativity because it offers a strange kind of comfort or familiarity.
That's a really interesting point.
It's like we become almost addicted to outrage and anxiety.
Exactly. But LaVey doesn't just leave us wallowing in despair. He offers solutions.
One of the most intriguing is his take on existentialism.
So not just accepting that life is meaningless, but actually using that realization as a starting point.
Precisely. He wants us to recognize that we have the power to create our own meaning, to make conscious choices about how we engage with the world.
So how do we do that? How do we apply this idea of existentialism as a medicine for melancholy?
LaVey encourages us to be more mindful of the information we consume and the environments we surround ourselves with.
He challenges us to question everything, to seek out different perspectives, and to be wary of anything that reinforces negativity or fear.
You ready to unlock that hidden knowledge?
Absolutely. One of LaVey's more intriguing ideas is the strategic use of secrets.
He breaks it down into 4 types, each with its own power dynamics.
It's like he's giving us a crash course in social intelligence and manipulation.
In a way, yes, but it's not about being malicious or deceitful.
It's about understanding how information can be used to influence, persuade, and even protect ourselves.
So we're not just spilling all our secrets to anyone who'll listen. We're being strategic, discerning, and maybe even a little bit cunning.
Exactly.
I have to admit, I chuckled when I first read The Whoopee Cushion Principle.
Who wouldn't? LaVey takes something seemingly absurd like a whoopee cushion and uses it to make a profound point about the importance of humor.
It's like he's reminding us not to take ourselves too seriously.
He is. And he's also suggesting that humor can be a powerful weapon against self-importance and hypocrisy.
So how do we apply this whoopee cushion wisdom in our own lives?
LaVey would probably say we should look for opportunities to inject a little bit of laughter into our everyday routines, especially when faced with stressful or frustrating situations.
It's about maintaining a sense of perspective and not letting the little things get us down.
I love that. It's like he's giving us permission to be a little mischievous, to find joy in the unexpected.
He is. And it's a reminder that a balanced perspective includes finding humor in life's absurdities.
It's a way to stay grounded and avoid becoming too rigid in our thinking.
Speaking of finding humor, LaVey had a knack for dissecting popular sayings and exposing the often hidden motivations behind them.
For example, he takes the saying, "Honesty is the best policy," and reframes it as, "Credibility is the best policy."
What LaVey is getting at here is that it's not always about telling the literal truth.
It's about cultivating a persona that people will believe, regardless of whether or not it's entirely accurate.
That's a bit Machiavellian, isn't it?
It is. And LaVey was certainly a master at understanding the complexities of human behavior, especially when it comes to power dynamics.
He challenges us to look beyond surface-level pleasantries and to consider the often self-serving motivations that drive our actions.
It's like he's pulling back the curtain on social norms and saying, don't be so quick to accept things at face value.
It's like he's saying, wake up and question everything.
Exactly. And speaking of questioning everything, LaVey also takes aim at this idea of goodness in a section he calls the good guy badge.
Yeah, this one really makes you think about those who wear their virtue like a badge of honor. What's LaVey's take on that?
He's pretty blunt about it, actually.
He suggests that true altruism is rare and that many acts of goodness are actually driven by ego or a desire for social recognition.
Okay, so unpack that a bit more for us. What's the deeper meaning LaVey's getting at here?
Well, think about it. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to go out of their way to announce their good deeds or moral stances?
LaVey would argue they're often more interested in the applause than the act itself.
So it's not really about helping others, it's about making yourself look good.
Exactly. It's like LaVey is saying, don't be fooled by outward displays of virtue. Look closer, and you might find something else entirely. And this ties back to his point about credibility being more important than honesty in many cases.
It's a bit cynical, but I can see what he's getting at.
And he takes it even further by suggesting that this need to be seen as good can actually prevent us from confronting our own flaws and engaging in honest self-reflection.
That's a really thought-provoking point. It makes you wonder if constantly striving for this image of perfection can actually be detrimental to personal growth.
It's definitely something to consider. And it connects to another fascinating concept LaVey explores, eustress.
Okay, eustress, break that down for us.
Eustress is essentially the idea of finding pleasure or stimulation in discomfort.
It's that feeling you get when you watch a scary movie or ride a roller coaster. Your heart races, your adrenaline pumps, but you actually enjoy the sensation.
So it's like a good kind of stress.
Exactly. LaVey observed that humans have this natural inclination to seek out challenges, even if those challenges involve a certain degree of discomfort.
He believed it's essential for feeling truly alive and engaged with the world.
So he's not advocating for a life of constant suffering, but rather for embracing discomfort as a potential source of growth and even pleasure.
Precisely. Think about it this way. When you push yourself outside of your comfort zone, whether it's trying a new activity, learning a new skill, or even just having a difficult conversation,
You might experience some initial anxiety or discomfort, but you often come out the other side feeling more confident, capable, and fulfilled.
it's like that saying, no pain, no gain.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's more like no discomfort, no growth.
Exactly. And LaVey would argue that by avoiding discomfort, we're actually limiting our own potential for experience and expansion.
That's really interesting. So how can someone practically apply this concept of eustress to their own life? It's easy to say, embrace discomfort.
But how do we actually do that in a healthy and constructive way?
Well, it starts with being more mindful of our relationship with comfort.
Yeah.
What are some areas of your life where you tend to shy away from challenges or avoid taking risks?
That's a good question. I'm definitely someone who enjoys a good routine and can sometimes get stuck in my comfort zone.
And that's perfectly normal. But maybe try to identify one small area where you can push yourself a little bit. It could be as simple as trying a new exercise class, having a difficult conversation you've been putting off, or even just exploring a new part of your city.
I like that. Start small and build from there.
Exactly. And remember, the goal isn't to seek out unnecessary suffering, but to approach discomfort with a sense of curiosity and openness, knowing that it might just lead to unexpected growth and fulfillment.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the motivations behind goodness to the power of eustress. But LaVey's Devil's Notebook also dives into some surprisingly practical advice. Let's talk about his ideas on keeping secrets.
He actually breaks it down into 4 distinct types, right?
He does this, and he dives into the power dynamics inherent in each type of secret.
This is where that social intelligence comes in, right?
Understanding how to use information strategically.
Absolutely. For example, he talks about secrets that give others power over us if revealed. He calls these blackmailable secrets.
Then there are secrets that might seem scandalous, but actually hold little weight once revealed.
He calls these pseudo-secrets, and they can be quite powerful when used strategically.
Okay, now that is fascinating. It's like he's giving us a secret decoder ring for navigating the complexities of social interactions. So what are the other 2 types of secrets, and how can we use this knowledge to our advantage?
Good question. LaVey also talks about trade secrets, which are valuable pieces of information that can be shared strategically to gain an advantage in negotiations or other professional settings.
And then there are cosmic secrets, those deeply personal truths that we hold close to our hearts.
LaVey suggests that these are the secrets that truly define us, and that sharing them should be a carefully considered act of intimacy.
It's amazing how he breaks down something as seemingly simple as a secret into these different categories, each with its own set of rules and implications.
It speaks to his understanding of human psychology and his ability to find the extraordinary in the ordinary.
He definitely had a knack for that. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about LaVey's predictions for the future.
Specifically, this idea of erotic crystallization inertia. What a mouthful.
Right. It sounds complicated, but it's actually a very insightful concept.
Essentially, LaVey observed that our environments and the visual stimuli we surround ourselves with have a profound impact on our sense of vitality and even our longevity.
Wait, so he's saying that what we see can actually affect how long we live.
That's the gist of it.
He noticed that people who live in unchanging environments, particularly those that evoke a sense of nostalgia and comfort, tend to have longer lifespans.
So, someone who grew up in a small town and continues to live there their whole life, surrounded by familiar sights and sounds, might live longer than someone who's constantly moving and exposed to new environments.
Exactly. LaVey argued that constantly changing environments can be overstimulating and create a kind of wear and tear on our senses.
Whereas familiar and comforting surroundings can promote a sense of peace and stability, which, in turn, can contribute to a longer, healthier life.
That's fascinating. It makes you think about the importance of creating spaces that feel nurturing and grounding, especially in today's fast-paced world.
It's like curating your own personal museum of memories and experiences.
I love that analogy. Now, speaking of the future, LaVey also had some pretty wild predictions about artificial human companions, right?
He did. Decades before AI was a buzzword, LaVey was already envisioning a world where humans would interact with synthetic beings for companionship, servitude, and even romance.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting, especially for me and my interest in the future of technology.
So what did he envision? What would these artificial companions be like?
He imagined them as highly customizable, with individuals being able to choose their companion's physical appearance, personality traits, and even intelligence level.
Wow, so it's like designing your ideal partner or friend.
Precisely.
And this raises all sorts of fascinating questions about the nature of relationships, intimacy, and what it truly means to be human.
It's almost like he anticipated the ethical debates we're having today about artificial intelligence and its potential impact on society.
He certainly had a knack for predicting the unforeseen.
He understood that technology has the power to both enhance and complicate our lives, and he wasn't afraid to explore those complexities in his writing.
It's clear that LaVey wasn't afraid to challenge conventional wisdom and make us question our assumptions about the world.
Absolutely. And that's what makes The Devil's Notebook such a compelling and enduring work.
It's a reminder to approach life with a critical eye, to question everything, and to never stop exploring the fringes of human experience.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into The Devil's Notebook, what's the one takeaway you hope our listeners will walk away with?
I think LaVey would want us to embrace our own individuality, to think for ourselves, and to never be afraid to challenge the status quo, even if it means going against the grain.
And maybe invest in a good whoopee cushion along the way.
Couldn't hurt. Remember, life is too short to take everything so seriously.
That's a great note to end on. To our listeners, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to question everything. Until next time, happy exploring.